Today we will be presenting on bilingual early intervention services under Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, as implemented in Illinois. Early intervention supports infants and toddlers from birth to age 3 who have developmental delays, diagnosed conditions, or disabilities. When families speak a language other than English, they have the right to receive services in their preferred language to ensure meaningful participation and equitable access. In this presentation, we will walk through 5 key areas. First, we will explain who is eligible for early intervention services in Illinois and how eligibility is determined. Second, we will discuss who is qualified to provide these services, including the credentialing and licensure requirements necessary to work with the Illinois Early Intervention System. Third, we will outline how families access services, including the referral process and how the development of the individualized family service plan. Third, we will outline how families access services, including the referral process and the development of the individualized family service plan. Fourth, we will review the benefits of bilingual early intervention and identify which children and families may benefit most from this support. Finally, we will address the challenges and limitations that can affect consistent implementation, particularly related to language access and workforce shortages. Our goal is to provide a clear, structured overview of how bilingual early intervention works, why it matters, and how it supports equitable outcomes for young children and their families. Let's begin with eligibility.
Let's talk about who's eligible. For bilingual early intervention here in Illinois, eligibility starts with the early intervention system itself. These services support infants and toddlers from birth until they turn 3 who have a diagnosed condition, a disability, or are showing a significant developmental delay. Illinois considers a child to have a significant delay when they are showing noticeable delays in areas like communication, social emotional skills, motor development, or cognitive abilities. Now, the bilingual piece is very straightforward. If a family speaks a language other than English or simply prefers to communicate in their home language, they are eligible for bilingual early intervention support. There is no extra process or additional qualification. Illinois is required to provide services in a family's preferred language so that families can clearly understand the process, the recommendations, and the services that are being offered. The goal is for families to feel comfortable, informed, and fully included in the decisions about their child's right from the start. Now we'll talk a little bit about who's qualified to provide the bilingual early intervention services here in Illinois.
Hello everyone. Today we're talking about bilingual early intervention services under Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, also known as IDEA. Early intervention, often called EI, serves infants and toddlers from birth to age 3 who have developmental delays or disabilities, but not just anyone can provide these services. There are specific qualifications to ensure families receive high quality, appropriate support. First, providers must be credentialed through the Illinois Early Intervention System. This means they have completed the required state approvals, training, and background clearances to work with families in the EI program. Second, providers must hold discipline-specific licensure. For example, a speak language pathologist. Second, providers must hold discipline-specific licensure. For example, a speech-language pathologist, SLP, must hold an active speech-language pathology license. An occupational therapist, OT, must be licensed in occupational therapy. A physical therapist, PT, must hold a physical therapy license. Developmental therapists must meet state qualifications specific to early childhood development. These professionals are trained not just in their discipline, but in working with very young children during the most critical stages of brain development. Third, all services must comply with Part C of IDEA. Part C is federal law that protects the rights of infants and toddlers with developmental needs. It ensures services are individualized, family-centered, and focused on measurable developmental outcomes. And here is something very important. Services must be provided in the family's preferred language whenever possible. Language access is not a luxury, it is a right. When families receive services in their home language, they are better able to understand strategies, ask questions, participate confidently, and reinforce learning through daily routines. Bilingual early intervention is about more than translation. It is about culturally responsive practice, honoring family voice, and supporting children in ways that align with how they live, communicate, and connect at home.
Let's talk about how do families access these services. Families usually begin the process by contacting their local Child and Family Connections office, which is the entry point for early intervention services in Illinois. Parents can call themselves, and referrals can come from pediatricians, child care providers, or anyone who has concerns about a child's development. Once that referral is made, a service coordinator connects with the family to schedule the evaluation and explain each step of the process. If a child qualifies, the team and the families, they work together to create the Individualized Family Service Plan, the IFSP. This plan includes the family's preferred language, which should guide all communication moving forward. From that moment on, meetings, home visits, evaluations, and conversations should take place in that language. When a bilingual provider is available, that is ideal. When one isn't, an interpreter is brought in to support the communication. The intention is to make sure that families understand what is happening and that they feel confident about asking questions. When families hear information in their home language, the early intervention process becomes smoother and much more meaningful for them. This will highlight some of the key benefits of bilingual early intervention for families and children.
Now let's talk about the benefits of early intervention services. One of the most powerful aspects of early intervention is that it uses a family-centered model. This means the child is not treated in isolation. Instead, providers partner with caregivers, parents, guardians as coaches, supported and empowered to use strategies throughout everyday routines during meals, playtime, bath time, and community outings. Because the truth is, children learn best from the people they love and see every day. Another major benefit is that services are delivered in natural environments, typically the home or community settings like parks, child care centers, or family gathering spaces. This matters because young children do not learn best in clinical isolation. They learn in real life. When intervention happens in the child's natural setting, strategies are practical, realistic, and sustainable. There is also a profound impact on early brain development. The first 3 years of life are a critical window. Neural connections are forming rapidly. When developmental concerns are addressed early, whether in communication, motor skills, social emotional growth, or cognition, we are strengthening foundational pathways that support lifelong learning. Early support can reduce the need for more intensive services later. It builds confidence in caregivers. It gives the children the strongest possible start. Another essential benefit is that bilingual EI services respect family language and culture. Children do not have to give up on their home language to receive support. In fact, maintaining and developing the home language supports stronger emotional bonds, identity development, and even further academic success. Bilingualism is not a barrier, it is an asset. So, what is this service best for? This service is best for infants and toddlers from birth to age 3 who show developmental delays or diagnosed disabilities, families who want coaching-based support delivered in their home language, caregivers who value culturally responsive services that align with daily life and traditions. Bilingual early intervention is about access, empowerment, and honoring families exactly as they are, while providing expert support during the most formative years of a child's life. When we support families early, respectfully, and in their own language, we are not just providing services, we are strengthening foundations for generations.
Now let's discuss what are the drawbacks and the challenges. Even though Illinois requires early intervention services to be offered in the family's preferred language, there are still some challenges that show up across the state. A major issue is that there's a shortage of bilingual providers, especially bilingual speech-language pathologists and developmental therapists. When bilingual providers are not available, families have to rely on interpreters. Interpreters help with communication, but it's still not the same as having a provider that they can fully connect with and build a rapport in that home language. Another challenge is the state does not consistently track how often the services are actually delivered in the home language. Without that data, it is hard to see where improvements are needed or where gaps are happening. On top of that, early intervention can feel overwhelming for families who are still getting to know the system. When conversations about delays, referrals, and evaluations happen early on, language barriers are present. Families may feel insecure or hesitant. These challenges do not take away from the purpose of bilingual early intervention, but they do show where the system needs to grow in order to offer truly equitable and meaningful support. Next, we'll bring everything together with a quick summary of what we've learned about bilingual early intervention services in Illinois.
As we conclude, bilingual early intervention under Part C of IDEA represents more than a service. It reflects commitment to equity, access, and early support during the most critical years of development. We discussed who is eligible, which are infants and toddlers from birth age to 3 with diagnosed conditions or significant developmental delays. We reviewed the professionals qualified to provide services, credentialed providers with discipline-specific licensure who operate within Illinois' early intervention systems, and federal Part C requirements. We outlined the access process, beginning with the referral through child and family connections and leading to the development of individualized family service plan. We also explored the benefits of family-centered natural environment services delivered in a family's preferred language, along with the real challenges that could affect consistent implementation, including workforce shortage and language access gaps. At its core, bilingual intervention ensures that families do not have to choose between receiving support and honoring their language or culture. It recognizes that parents are their child's first teachers and strongest advocates. When families understand the process, can communicate comfortably, and are coached in ways that align with their daily lives, children are positioned to thrive. Early support matters. Language access matters. Cultural respect matters. When these elements work together, we are not only addressing developmental needs, we are strengthening families and building lasting foundations for future learning and success. Thank you.